see if this thing come on. Get on my page. It's doing the twisty thing. It's probably already on because I know I usually look silly for a couple minutes. It says we're live. Steph, you hear anything? Hey man, it's 6 o'clock. If somebody can hit me with a comment, tell me shut up something so we know what's on there. Ain't nothing on there.
It's not loaded.
All right. Hey Swan, can you hear me? Christopher Eli Swan, can you hear me? Wesley Smith says he can hear us. So hey, it's 6 o'clock. We're on. Hey, I was sitting here today and listen, our sister's scared to death. She done got an army in here with her just to encourage her. The Bible tells us to lift up our brother's hands when they're down. And listen, we're not out here all alone anymore. I love it when I see the Warriors show up. Listen, we got 4 of them in the room right now, right? So we got the army clocked in, ready to clock in and do some work for us tonight. Well, if you just knew what kind of day I've had and what I've been through, I've looked forward to this. I need this. I don't know if y'all do. Don't know if y'all care, but I need this. We had prayer. Thought God Himself touched our elbows, but it was just Angie. But it was still good. It was still good. And we've done prayed in. We've got her ready. We know she's nervous. And I want y'all to pray for her. I want y'all to leave a comment for her. I want y'all to like and to share this. Listen, it ain't about the like and the shares, but these people go home at night feeling beaten down, feeling depressed about themselves, embarrassed about some of the stuff they've said. And listen, they need a word of encouragement, but they've come here to be a help to you. So as always, we'd like to thank Stan for allowing us to do this. Listen, I've got some good bosses out there, and they let me do this stuff to get the word out, to try to save people's lives. That's what we're about. We're trying to lead them to the right answer. So we thank Stan for allowing us to do this. Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services for allowing us to do this. And listen, we got some new stuff in. Listen, that don't say every drug addict got a problem no one can fix. That ain't what that shirt says. That says everybody's got a problem that no one can fix. So we ain't out here alone. We're all people like us. But the Warriors got the time to clock in and tell y'all some of their stories. So I'm going to get out of the way. I know she's nervous, but I know she's got something good to share with y'all. And I'm going to let my sister clock in and come in here and just speak life to you guys. And I love every one of you. I'm gone.
Love you. Love you.
Oh, hey guys. I'm a ball of nerves, so just bear with me. My story ain't all that easy to tell. There's not a lot of happy moments in it. And I'm a crybaby. I've been on both sides of addiction. I've been an enabler, and then I've been an addict, and I'm happy to say I'm a recovering addict now. I'm going to start out with my favorite verse. It says, they approach and come forward. Each helps the other and says to his brother, be strong. Isaiah 41:5-6. That's to be comforted. Anytime you need help, you just go to one another. Peer support, that's what we call it in recovery. I don't know if I would have made it this far with a lot of people out there with my journey, as I call it. I started off, I was raised good. I was an Army brat. Moved here. My dad passed away when I was 7.5. Luckily, my mom met this wonderful man that I call my dad, Rick. He is my hero. And he raised me, and they raised me good. When I was a teenager, I did the normal. I was the one out in the crowd. I did great in school, but I smoked pot. I went partied. I drank. I mean, it was just what we done if you was in cliques. I wasn't in a certain clique. I graduated with honors. I had a scholarship to go to Tennessee School of Massage Therapy. I wasn't able to go because the middle of my senior year, we found out I had cervical cancer. But everything was fine with that. I met my husband, Mike, beginning of my senior year, my high school sweetheart. We started dating. We ended up moving out together on our 1 year anniversary. He wasn't from around here and he hung the moon to me. We were together all together 8 years before we got married. We did separate one time in between. Now, our 2nd-year anniversary was the first time I'd ever saw pills brought in. I'd walked in and him and his friends, he started doing pills. And so from there, we went on a journey of addiction that I didn't know about. All I knew was I was on the enabler side. I got accused of being one because I helped him. I didn't want to see him down and out when he was sick because he was an amazing man. There is nothing wrong I could say about him. He was an amazing husband. He struggled a lot with addiction. We separated the end of 2011, and that's when, where I had health problems, I had a prescription. And that's when, since he's gone, I was able to finally take my prescription, and I started taking it, and I noticed I started to abuse it. I remember not only did it help the pain, but sometimes when times were hard, I'd take another one. That was the first time in my adult life that I'd been single. I didn't have to really answer to someone, where I didn't have to be like, hey, bye, I'm walking out the door. Because soon as I graduated high school, we moved out together. So I went from telling my parents what I was doing to sharing with him, like how you would in a relationship. So, of course, I got out. I was living it up. I was going out, going to the bars, started experimenting with methamphetamines. Actually tried coke a time or two. Even started smoking pot a little bit again. But pills was my downfall. That it helped me escape and it made me feel like a hypocrite, because that's why we separated, because I knew if he stuck around here, it wouldn't be good. He come back and I was pregnant with Journey, and everything was amazing. He was working. We were doing great. I had slowed down on everything where I was pregnant. I couldn't do anything being with Journey, being pregnant with her. And I had him back and I was happy. I felt like I didn't need that. It made it easy for me. But he fell back into addiction. I mean, some people say they can stay around here and be sober and it not affect them, but some people can't. Even if they try, them people come find you. And some people just have addictive personalities or get under stress, or if it's in your face constantly, would. So after having Journey and stuff, everything was good. I found out I was pregnant with Jay Thanksgiving of 2015. Mike got into this Suboxone clinic. That's when I first started finding out a little bit about Suboxone clinics. I knew about methadone clinics and stuff, but he was doing amazing with that. I mean, it was helping him go back down to sobriety. And Suboxone, to me, I tried it, didn't help me further on in my journey, but some people, it can. Unfortunately, January of 2016, Mike passed away. The 3 days leading up to his death, he had lost his job and was out doing, I don't know what all he's doing because I wasn't with him. It was a hard 3 days because I was on his butt a lot. But I woke up to him barely breathing. Called an ambulance and done CPR, done everything I could till they got there. But he had died of an accidental overdose. That right there was hard. You know, you don't expect to lose your husband and bury him and then have a 2-year-old and then pregnant with the other one. I can't explain the pain that is. Doing that, you know, when you lose somebody, there's people surrounding you when they die. And they're there through the services. They're there comforting you. But the world don't stop when someone passes away that's close to you. When the services are done, everybody's got to go back to living their lives. And I was left alone. It felt like, my dad was, right before it all happened, took a job and was going to be gone for a couple months. My sister was working with kids, which she'd check in on me. Anyone knows me, I'm very stubborn, very pride-headed, and I won't ask for help much. So a lot of times when someone would ask, "You okay?" I'm fine when I'm not. And my mom was very codependent on me. I was around her all the time. And for some reason, she just wasn't there when he passed away. Or after. So here I am. I had moved to a different apartment. It was just too hard being in the apartment that we lived in. Just doing me and Journey, and I was doing it day by day. Then I met Joey. Well, I knew Joey. We went to school together. I've known him since high school. But he just happened to pop in on me. And I was needing some furniture moved, and he came and helped me. I didn't, because, after that, him and his family, him and his mom and his sister, they just didn't give up on me. They were there. It was like God sent them and put them in my life, and still today, I'm so thankful for that family. And Joey was my world. He come, and as much as I wanted to fight it, I couldn't help. I fell in love. My kid, Journey, just clung to him. But everybody wasn't very supportive of us getting together, which I could see why. It was not long after Mike passed away. But it was like God sent him to me. I was alone. And I needed him. And if it wasn't for him, I always say he saved me, and he did. He saw that. It's like God knew I needed someone just as stubborn, as pride-headed as me, if not worse. The Lord knows that he's worse. But onto that, everything could turn out great. I was happy. I had Jay in July of 2016. Joey was there. Joey was there through it all. Joey, that's why the kids call him Dad. But then it was like, because they kept me on my script all through my pregnancy with Jay because of my health problems. So after I had Jay, the script just wasn't helping, I didn't want to go up to something stronger, but the script wasn't helping my pain. But I told the doctor I'm dependent on the script. I'm sick. I don't feel good without it, but I take it. It don't help the pain. It ain't strong enough. And so they suggested, why don't you get to the Suboxone clinic? It'll help you get off the prescription that, we had you on for a few years. I got in the clinic, and Joey as well got in the clinic because he was having some issues of his own with abusing pills. We both got in the clinic together. And I mean, we were doing good. The problem is, it was stronger than the pain pills I was taking. I mean, it it messed me up. But the problem was, I just started off with a quarter. Joey was able to work himself down, but me, I had to take more and more and more. And anybody that's been on Suboxone knows that after, you get on it, it gets in your system, it don't get you high. You just feel normal. So there's no, if there's any addiction tendencies that you have, you're not going to get some kind of feeling off from it. You got to take it to feel normal. It don't get you high no more. It don't, you don't get some kind of feeling from it. Other than if you don't take it, you're going to be sick. So we started experimenting with meth. It was easy. It was available to us. I mean, it was just handed to us anytime we wanted it. That was the thing, do that. If you needed a break from, like, how people go out and drink, maybe smoke a joint. Well, we're on Suboxone. Let's do dope. It's our time to do it. I mean, I had my kids all the time. Even with Joey, I had no help. I was a 24/7 mother. And I'm not saying all I've done was sit and do pills. I mean, I've been to college. I graduated with honors at high school. I've had jobs where I've had my own office in accounting and finances. I mean, I had a big popular clique of friends growing up till Joey. I don't know if it's my fault or just me and Joey being together, but the world just kind of hated us. So it was like me and the kids and Joey. That's what the past 4 years was for me. Not saying that we did meth all the time. That was just our when we want to thing. 2017, I went to jail. We both did. for methamphetamines, I had Suboxone. It just been a rough day of us fighting. And, I mean, you don't expect that, which I wasn't high that day, and I was sitting there like, well, I don't know why I'm going to jail. They said, well, because your priorities are Joseph Pergram and Suboxone. And I was like, that's not a charge. But, it still opened my eyes. Opened my eyes a lot. Like, whoa, Keesha, look what you just done. I mean, something I never, ever thought I would do or I would ever go to jail for. And I'm still embarrassed about it. I mean, I'm really ashamed of knowing that I have a meth charge on my record. I mean, I could have fought it, but I'd never been in trouble. I wanted out of jail. And I'm telling you, those few weeks in jail, when you're on Suboxone, that's the worst feeling in detox I've ever had in my life. I mean, I like to say that's the devil substance because I could have took my pain pills and never felt like that coming off from them. That's why myself, I don't think it works. It could work for others, but to me, it's just going from one thing to another substance and how it made you feel. When I got out of jail, me and Joey both tried doing better. We moved. But I moved where he worked and I was with the kids. I felt alone. I didn't have like people coming over constantly. I wasn't going places constantly. I had conversations with a 2-year-old and a baby, 3-year-old, 4-year-old. That was my daily thing, clean, cook. And it gets depressing. And plus I had health issues and, I needed some kind of release. So I went back to pain pills. I mean, Percocet That was my drug right there. That was heaven to me. Uh, I was a functional addict, and some addicts will even say, some moms, that I was a better mom while I was on them, and sometimes you can say that. I could see that because I had to push through a lot. I mean, I had Joey. I didn't want I didn't want to, I wanted to be the strong one, so I know I could have depended on my dad, but I didn't want to put all of that on him because I'm grown. I'm in my 30s. If anything, I wanted to show him, hey, I'm doing good. Don't worry about me. You know, I'm old enough to where you don't have to worry about me. My mom she wasn't always there. But after all this, but I had Joey's mom, Wanda. I call her Mama Wanda. She's my second mom. I had her, I had a sister. And I mean, they couldn't always come running and everything. And plus, I was stubborn. If anything, I had to keeping Joey in line. He could be so hard to handle. I mean, he was my best friend. But we bumped heads. Anybody close to Joey bumped heads. I mean, he is stubborn. But there's no one ever that would be able to take that man's place. I mean, I don't know, he's my love. Well, then we went through house after house after house because when you're a couple and you're both struggling with addiction, you're going to get mad at each other. Like, this one got more than this one. You're starting to hide stuff from me, or you're holding out on me. I'm sick and you're not sick. Of course, it causes fights. Bills don't get paid or this and that. So we went from house to house. There's a few times we were right back at Mama Wanda's house helping. She is helping us. I always done my best, but I mean, I was addicted, but I also was trying to enable him because I wanted everything normal and happy. I wanted everything functional. When I woke up of the morning, even though I was a functional addict, my first thought was my kids, Joey, then the house, then dinner, but my first thing was make sure those were taken care of first. Those were happy. When it come with Joey too, it was make sure he's not sick in the morning so he could go to work. Make sure I have something so I'm not sick, so I could do this and not feel bad. And after a while, that lifestyle catches up to you. It catches up to you big time. It's hard. Well, we found out in the beginning of 2019, we were pregnant with a baby girl. And it was right after I had my thyroid removed. Because behind all this, I have a lot of health problems. A lot for my age. And a lot of times, I mean, I could be on pain pills right now if I wanted to. I don't want them. But that was what started my addiction, other than, I'd been on both ends of it. I've been on the side where I'm getting hurt watching someone be addicted. And then I'm on the other side. Not only being I went from being an enabler to being a functional addict. And a lot of people didn't know I was. I was good at hiding it. Well, I thought it was. I mean, there's a lot of people that know I did, but I didn't go out. I just needed something to help me at the beginning of the day. We still messed around with dope every now and again to just, and I couldn't go out and drink. I didn't have babysitters, and I didn't want the hangover the next day. So what do? You go dope. That's what you do around here. It seems like it's easy. It was available. I mean, we can call, we can have a gift test. I mean, it was like nothing. I mean, it was easier to get than pain pill. But got pregnant with Joey, my little girl. I named her Joey. Joey Nicole, after her daddy and me, because I'm all about my J names. And had her in October 21st of last year. Well, CPS come in on me. I had a failed drug test, and it was for oxycodone, methamphetamines. Well, of course, at first I kind of fibbed. So the next day, and she told me, "Now don't BS me, or I'll jerk these kids." I'm not BSing you, you know. Next day, she shows up, jerks my kids. And if anybody knows, my kids are my world. I mean, they come before anything. I've had my kids every day, just about it, since the day they were born. That right there killed me. It hurt. And you know, it's embarrassing. I mean, that's when you're humiliated. I was so humiliated because I was this girl that didn't do that. I took care of my kids. I paid my bills, regardless if we lost one house and was another. Even at Wanda's house, my kids never wanted for nothing. They were always taken care of. They were always dressed nice. They had any toy. They had food on the table. You wouldn't be able to tell that they were in a home of addiction or had a mom like me. But some, it had, you know, I've been to meetings and some have made them worse. And believe me, you have no clue how I just wanted to run out and get out. But all I could think of was, no, I've got to fight for my kids. But the problem was, it was my fault. I had to realize that. And that hurt me so bad. So that's when I said, I ain't doing this no more. I mean, I come to realize I couldn't point fingers at no one. It wasn't back when I was enabling Mike. It wasn't me being around Mike and friends that were doing it. It wasn't Joey. It wasn't any of the people that gave me the stuff or how I got the pills. It was my choice. It was my choice. You can always say no. And I didn't. I mean, yeah, I went through some hell. And yeah, I leaned on it. I leaned on it to help me through it, the drugs, but that ain't the way to do it. I was so ashamed. And see, with my dad, me, my dad, and my sister, all the way growing up, it didn't matter what we done. We were always honest with each other. We always let each other know everything, even if it was good, bad, even if it knew it would make us upset or disappointed. But we would still be there to support each other through it. And my dad, I always ran to him. I never have lied to him about anything. And I wasn't intimidated by anybody. But my dad, I was intimidated by, not because I always wanted. I never wanted, I knew that in his eyes, I was his girl, just like my sister. And he knew that we were strong. We didn't mess up like this. And I was ashamed because You would think the moment I lost my kids, I have Joey with me. And I have my mama Wanda and the family. But I was so ashamed of myself. I was so ashamed to be out. I was so hurt to have to tell my dad. I mean, I couldn't. As much as I needed him, I couldn't. You know? Because not only did I have to say, well, your daughter is a drug addict, but also I've lost my kids right after the third one was born. At 36 years old, I mean, I'm old enough to know better, you would think. I mean, because none of this started until I was in my 30s. Well, Wanda had got a hold of my dad a few weeks later because I just couldn't bring myself to do it. And he called, and it was so comforting because he still wasn't ashamed. But he wanted me to know, you know, he's there. That we was gonna do, and if I needed him, he'd be right there with me through it, along with the rest of them. For me not to worry about what he thinks, for me not to worry about what anybody else thinks. That this was my fight, and that's what it was. It was my fight. And that's the part of addiction no one sees at the beginning. You have to go through humility. You are completely shamed and humiliated. You have to face that. You have to face it because you caused it. At the end of the day, I can't say, well, it's because me and Joey were getting high or things like that I lost my kids and place blame on both of us. No. I got in trouble. I failed the drug test. I'm the one who lied. I thought I was that slick. I lost my babies. And that's still hard to say. I mean, we go to these meetings and stuff, and at first I was kind of put back, but anybody knows me, I'm raw and blunt about it. I mean, I can't hold back. But, you know, I'm one of the talkative ones. In a meeting, it's a little bit easier. But this is a lot different because it's almost like you're going through that humility part again. Thing of it is I had to realize after that, out of these years, I had never taken the time, any time out for myself. I wanted to get sober. I know I lost my kids, you know, get sober, get my kids back. But the problem was I couldn't do it just for my kids, just get my kids back. What is that going to do? That's just going to set me up for failure again. When I get them back, I'm going to have to go get high again. I can't do it for anybody else. I wanted it. I went to a meeting or two and I wanted it. And it empowered me. I wanted that. And not only did I want it, it made me want to help others so much more with addiction because I had seen the ugly part of addiction, being an addict, and see the other side of it. You know, people out there just like me, you know, different walks on how we got here. I was able to detox on my own. I didn't have to go to a rehab. I started going to stop groups. I don't know. I loved it. It helped me. Mama Wanda got me back in church. She asked me, you know, go to church. I remember the week I lost my kids, I went to White Rock Baptist Church with Wanda, and that's where Randy goes. It was on a Wednesday, and I went there, and I'm seeing everybody with their kids, and I'm so upset, crying upset. And afterwards, I walked up to Randy. Me and Randy went to school together. We hung out. And I said, I need to talk to you sometime soon. And he's like, you all right, sis? And I was like, I lost my kids. He's like, it's time to do some work. And I was like, yeah. After that, I went to church every Sunday, every Wednesday. I done some spiritual counseling through them. I saw God in a different light. It's like he opened my eyes. And I realized I wasn't doing this. I had to do this for myself. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm doing everything. I have to do this to become a better person, to be a better mother for my children. Some people can do it, play the system, do what it takes, go to the groups, go to the classes, go to all the assessments, go to drug tests, play the system until they are out of it, they got the kids. It's all smooth rolling from there, but you're going to set yourself up for failure. That's when you realize that from a side point, because I realized that at the beginning, like, I could play this easy, you know. I didn't want to. I realized I had to feel everything. I needed to feel everything that hurt. They had put me on a mood stabilizer, and it actually made me feel numb on the outside when I first started going through this. That made me feel like I couldn't express my emotions, because every time my kids would leave during my visit, or I would have to leave, I wanted to break down, and it felt like on the outside I couldn't. I went to the doctor and I said, I want off this medicine because I've got to be able to express this. I've got to be able to let it out. I've got to be able to feel and go through all this in order to make myself better. As a lot of people think that the detox is the worst part. When you're in a situation like mine with those babies, you go through a lot of steps that are worse. And it's hard. But I wanted it. Everything started getting better slowly. It was like a light had shined in on me. I would never have been so happy to look forward to church every week. It made me feel better. I had never been so happy to show up to groups and appointments. And that's still today. It helps me. Now, Joey was my rock thread. I always told him he saved me again because he would not. He would not let me stop. He would not let me give up. Them was our babies. He made sure I kept going once again, even if he wasn't doing his best. And anytime I get like this, because it seems like after I got sober, I'm just a big crybaby, and then I'll turn it around, make people laugh, and say some screwed up joke. We don't need to do this on here, but he kept me going. Everything started getting better. I had this new family. I had Randy, I had Stephanie, I had Angie, and I had my peer support. I leaned on my counselors. You know how they say if you need something, you call these numbers, you call your counselor, you call this. Let me tell you, I used those numbers. When I was mad, I'd wear those numbers. Oh, I bet you sometimes they tell me, God, I wish I wouldn't give her my number. This girl don't stop. I mean, even when I'm mad and need someone to vent to, believe me, I will text them books before they can get a chance to put in a sentence. But that's what peer support is. But I never had one person say, Keesha, shut up. If anything, they helped me. And I'm thankful for that. I was getting to see my kids more. I was getting to stay with them at their grandma's house, which made it a little hard. I was staying with them more than I was staying at home with Joey, and he was working, and he liked being alone. We always needed each other. Well, I think it was about 5 months into my sobriety. I'd been with my kids for almost a week at her grandma's. Well, I went to Wanda's house because I'd only got to talk to Joey on the phone because I hadn't been home. And there's something about that day. I felt overwhelmed, and I've never felt. They say if you get overwhelmed during recovery, that you need to stop. Don't overwhelm yourself. Take a breather, take a break. Something about that day. I was overwhelmed. I just felt like I needed to go home. But then I felt, Keesha, you get to be with your kids. So, you going to go home, Joey? You going to stay with the kids? I have to pick the kids because I'm doing this for the kids, you know? Well, we went to Wanda's. I brought the kids over. And I got to see Joey that day. And he wanted me to come home, and I wanted to go home with him. But I went with my kids because, you know, I didn't want, as much as I missed them and I wanted to go home, I'd promised Ernie I'd stay another night. And I can't stand to see that look in their eyes that, like, Mommy, don't go. Well, that night, it was about 4 the next morning at their grandma's house in the middle of the night. I got up to go to the bathroom and come back through the living room, and I noticed there was headlights in the driveway, and I opened the door. Is Wanda. Did she come to tell me about that Joey passed away? That's it. That moment, I relive it all the time. Something you can't get out of your head. I'd lost my best friend. And I was angry. I was so angry. I didn't understand how God could take my husband and then how he could take Joey. And still today, sometimes I don't understand it. Some days I still have my arguments with God. And I'm telling you, when you're in recovery and have to go through something like that, it's not easy because right there was my world. Him and those kids, that was my little family. That was my everyday constant. I mean, we didn't have breaks. We didn't have hardly minutes apart. I mean, from morning till, it was them constant. He was my constant. They were both my constant. And I felt like I lost everything. That was my little family, and it was hard. It was hard, and to say the least, yeah, you'd want to go get out. But I'm telling you, there was a moment wanted to pick me up. Right after she told me, she's like, I'm telling you, Keesha, before I even let you out of this car, if anyone tries to offer you a pill or anything, don't you dare take it. Don't you dare mess up. And all I could think of at the moment was, why are we worried about that right now? But looking back on it, I'm so thankful that she told me that she, no matter how much we was hurting and what we had lost, that she was still there pushing me like she had been through the whole time. And I mean, she stayed on me the next few days. And I felt like my world just died inside. I was so angry. I remember I didn't go home for a few days. And then the day after his services, I wanted to go home. Wanted to try to even fight against it. She's like, we'll talk about it. I was like, because I was at the kids' grandma's, and I'm like, I feel so guilty, but I'm so overwhelmed. I'm so overwhelmed because I'm there and I'm constantly having the feeling like Joey's getting ready to call. And then I have to keep reliving it that no, he's not. And then reliving the moment of waking up there. Them coming and tell me Joey passed. Because I still didn't understand it. And still today, I tell myself that that day I felt overwhelmed because I needed to be at home. That if I was at home, it wouldn't have never happened. Because none of us know why. That I would have saved him because he had saved me so many times. That one day, though, I wanted to go home. Wanda's like, we'll talk about it. Do you think you're going to come here? No, I want to go home. Now, when Mike passed away, I didn't want to go back to our apartment. I mean, even though it didn't happen there or anything, it's just, I don't know, I couldn't. But with Joey, I wanted to go home. Because that was the last place he was at, and he was everywhere in there. And anybody will tell you couldn't hardly keep me away from there. No matter how depressed I was, you couldn't get me to leave because that's where I felt comfortable at. His scent was everywhere. It's what comforted me. At the same time, I mean, I had my dad. I had my sister, and what's sad is my sister. I had to tell my sister the night before Joey's services. She come and got me, and we had went to the Walmart. She didn't even know I lost my kids. And I had to just throw it out there to her that I lost my kids. Because your big sister was a drug addict. And that was the first thing I had told her when we found out I'd be doing this tonight was I don't want to get in there right here and embarrass you and my dad. Because, I mean, it's still fresh to y'all. And I don't want to embarrass them because I'm her big sister. I shouldn't be doing this in my 30s. I shouldn't be going through what I'm going through. But I threw it out there to her. And I apologized and I cried to her. But at that moment, I felt like, what else? There ain't nothing else to go. I've lost everything. Just let her know because it was hard. Well, go home, and I remember being at home for a few days and I hadn't touched nothing. The house was a disaster. And I just stayed in bed. Like I was just didn't want to talk. I didn't want to go nowhere. I was so upset. I was so angry. I still couldn't I just didn't understand it. And normally I would lean on Wanda. But she just lost her baby boy, and I already went through. I know the experience from this. We all grieved. It's different losing a child. I could not ever imagine losing my child. And I couldn't imagine losing my sister and my brother. So I couldn't imagine our pain. But they couldn't imagine mine because it's hard losing your significant other, your best friend. Because at the end of the day, you know, they can go home and they can be held. I couldn't. Mine was gone. Can't go hold my kids because I've lost them too. I just didn't understand. I was doing so good. Why'd you take him away from me too? I have to say, Joey's sister, Barbie, I call her Boo. You would think her losing her brother. They were so close. She showed up and she would not leave me alone. It didn't matter if I wanted to be alone. She was not leaving me alone. And all I can think of is I feel so selfish because she's more worried about me when she should be grieving her brother too. But it just seemed like we kind of got through it together. It's like God sent her to me that we needed each other, and still today, she is so close to my heart. I mean, I probably wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for her staying right there with me. I mean, she stayed with me. Like, she moved in. She was not going home. It didn't matter what I said. If I stayed in bed, she was still. She'd make keys to my apartment. I had a lock on my bedroom door. She wouldn't make a key to it. I couldn't get away from her if I wanted to, but I'm thankful for that. I mean, because Joey was me and Wanda's constant. I mean, every day. So it's hard for us. It's still hard for us. I mean, it was every day. Some days wasn't pleasant. And I tell you what, the strength it takes. I was so angry, I wanted to give up. I was so angry. I wanted to give up so bad. Because I felt like no matter what I've done, it's taking everything away from me. I do good. I do better than I have in forever. And you take something else away from me. I was angry. I wanted to give up. I was angry for a minute that I couldn't because my kids had nobody. They needed their mom. For a minute, I was angry for that. Like, why do you keep wanting to break me? Why? I still don't understand it. I still don't think it's fair. But I have to say, I didn't. I still had Joey in the back of my head telling me I better not give up. He'd kick my butt if I gave up. So I had to turn that into motivation. That was the only way. I had to know how to get through it. I started opening up. I already opened up at meetings all the time, but then I had counselors reaching out to me. Like, I never stopped a meeting. I didn't take a break for a week or two because Joey passed away. I knew this was, they say this is what these meetings are for. It's not just when you're recovering and you go every week. They're there too when stuff happens. It don't always have to be going and getting high. You got to go to those. I mean, if it wasn't for them, I went to that meeting even though they're like, you think you should? You want to take a couple weeks off and just take a breather for yourself? No. If I would have done that, Lord knows I'd probably be having to start my journey all over again. because I didn't need that. They say, too much time on your hands, boredom. Don't need that. It'll make you relapse a lot. No, I'm very strong-willed. Everybody, a lot of people that knows me knows that. Someone tells me I can't do something, I'm going to show them I can. I'll give it all I got. I try and prove them wrong. I had to still stay in that fight. I had to pick myself back up with the help. A big, huge help to his sister. I mean, because me and her just has Joey's humor, so we kept him going inside of me. The way he would talk, the jokes he'd say, so we was there with it. And that has helped me. I go to my meetings. I go to other meetings. I don't just play the system. I even started going to anger management. I took parenting classes. I was only required to go to one kind of group. They call it the stop group. And I graduated that 2 months ago. And every week I still go to a meeting. I'm not in drug court. That's the only thing I haven't done. And I begged them, let me in drug court. They're like, you don't need it. I was like, okay, but I still come to every meeting. I even told them, will you drug test me at least through drug court? Stop group, I asked her, will you still at least drug test me through there? I want people to see that you can do it. You can do it. I mean, I've been through hell. I've lost everything. When I mean everything, it's not material things. I've lost anything that was close to me. But I had to turn that to, it still hurts. But I gotta turn it into motivation. I gotta keep myself better because I have 3 little ones looking up at me, needing their mom. And I mean, you know me, I don't want no one else to step up and be mom. I've got to better myself. And that's what I'm doing. I haven't stopped. I've become close. I have amazing, we call it our all-in family, recovery family. Angie and Randy and Stephanie. Bunch of us. There's an ugly side to it. I have the good, the bad, the ugly, and I'm still working on it. I'm still working on getting my kids back. The court system, I mean, I still don't understand some of the things, but in the long run, I'll know why, things are still going the way they are, that I haven't brought them back, but I can't just be like, well, I'm playing the system. I ain't got my kids back. No, I'm sober. I'm doing good. I have took this time and realized I had never had no time to work on myself. I took it, and even after the hard times, I had to use it to take a step back and not look at everything else. Not just look at what mistakes I made, but to look at myself. And I also had to step back and look and say, I'm damn proud of you. And I am. I'm proud of myself. And it takes a lot to say that. And I've always longed to hear that. I always felt like I reached out for that, of wanting someone to be proud of me. And my sister making sure I hear it. When I told her I didn't want to get on here and embarrass her, she's like, you won't embarrass me. I'm proud of you. My dad said the same thing. My friends, Mama Wanda, Boo, the people that helped me through this. And I can only hope that there's people out there that know that I understand. My story ain't all about a happy ending right now, like most people's, but tragedy leads to addiction. Tragedy and loss and grief can cause addiction. Don't be scared to reach out. There's people like me that I know the hell it is. But there's better days after, even when it's hard. And there's not one day I don't keep Joey's memory alive with it, because even after he left, he motivates me. He's in the back of my head every day, probably right now telling me to stop it. You went from being white girl wasted to in here sloppy ugly crying. Shut up, stop crying. Man up. That was my family. I felt like I lost them, so all I can do is, I've got 3 kids that I've got to stick around for. I can only hope. It's raw and true, but it's about all. It's about a whole lot drawn out into one. But it was hard getting on here to say that. I took it a little bit better than I thought, but just I'm happy. I'm happy for the help around here. I'm happy. Sometimes I look back at it and I'm thankful that I failed that drug test, and I'm thankful that, it opened my eyes and I needed it. As hard as that was, it took something like that. And for a long time, I shied away from, even after when I first started going through this journey, people in the groups knew that I was an addict, and my little family, and because I don't go around anybody anymore. I'm still at home every day like I was with the kids. I mean, I don't go out and party or anything like that. You don't have to be going out and partying to be an addict, to be an active addiction and a functional addict. Sometimes it could be your average mother and everything can seem amazing. But it happens to all of us. It's not just, certain people. But I mean, I was ashamed, but now I'm happy. Some things still aren't easy, and things still aren't hard, and some things I still don't understand. But I'm getting there. I'm growing every day. I don't take it a day at a time. I take it a moment at a time. And that's all you can do. But I'm thankful. I'm blessed. I realized I'm worth it. And I recovered. The 26th of this month will make 10 months sober for me. And I feel, you would think that I just graduated college or something. I'm just like, wow. I still sit back and think every day. There's days still that's not hard. There's still days when it's not easy and I want to give up. There's still days that it kills me so much not having the kids, not understanding why I don't have them yet. But all I can think is I've got to learn from it. I've got to figure something out about it. I just got to keep bettering myself every day. And try to become the better person. I've got to work on myself to be a better person in order to be a better mother for my children. I'm not saying I wasn't a bad mother before, because I wasn't. And I was a good person, but I never took care of everyone else before I took care of myself. And I didn't realize how much I let myself go, how much I wasn't taking care of myself, how much I let the pills and everything take a hold of me. But I'm thankful for today. I'm thankful. Only thing I wish is I don't I wish I still had my kids. I wish Joey was still here. I wish Mike was still here. I mean, there's things I just don't understand. And I don't think anybody will, but I've had to use it as turn it from grief into strength and motivation. And hopefully I'm getting there. And every day it's still a fight and I'm still doing it. So all I can say is I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be a recovering addict. And I'm happy to stand up for addiction, other recovering addicts, anybody, because we're not just a statistic. We're not these bad people that are out all doing drugs and stuff. Sometimes it's just your people you would never expect. It don't discriminate. And I'm proof of that. Definitely don't discriminate. I went from having an office and working in an accountant and having all these friends that were all popular and stuff, and to just having my little family and getting on drugs and to make it through. I didn't grieve right with Mike, and I think that's a lot that's led me more into addiction. So I've got to learn from that and learn how to properly grieve for Joey, to not turn it in to another addiction. And all I can say is if anybody out there ever feels like they're alone and they can't get through it, you can. You can. There is better days and there's hope. But that's all I got, guys. Thank you for anybody that's watching. Probably anybody that's sitting there laughing at me. Thank you.
She said, "Well, man, I'm
I
gonna make them stand with you."
know I'm going to cry since I'm held it in.
See why we love her? Come on, Susie.
Come here.
That was
Yeah.
powerful.
See, this is what peer support is. When you need that extra lemon, they're there. Thanks, guys.
Hey, I ain't gotta say nothing. We just gonna shut her down and get out of the way. Love on our sister. Hey, we thank you for tuning in. And hey, we love everyone. And hey, find somebody that's got it worse off than you and give them a helping hand. And we'll see you guys next week, 6 o'clock. We'll be coming in from Corpus Christi, Texas.
Yes.
Hi. My name is that. You did too.
Zoe, turn this thing on.
So, I was just smarter than all.